want to talk about the history of Savate in the United States. So Savate in the United States was not very well known, but we found articles dating back to the late 1800s. So one of them is actually an article from the Los Angeles Times describing some of the Savate techniques used for self-defense purposes. There was not really any formal classes or formal school where Savate was being taught until Bruce Tegner, who wrote a lot of books on different styles of martial arts in the mid-60s. In parallel to that, Bruce Lee found old footage, 8mm film of Savate describing the execution of the chassé and the fouetté, and he became and he actually liked the technique and integrated it in this curriculum, in Jeet Kune Do curriculum, and presented it in his book. It was also mentioned in some of the military training manual, especially for the Navy, and using the same two techniques, chassé and fouetté, way before Asian martial arts were considered as part of the training in the US military. So Bruce Lee introduced the technique through the martial art world in the US primarily, and Bruce Tegner opened a school in Hollywood in the 1960s, and that's where Danny Innocento had a chance to practice Savate, and from what he told me, that was the only place where he could train in Savate. And he's been a very important person in the development of Savate ever since he had his school in Torrance. He has had Savate instructors teaching Savate and spreading it through the territory of the United States. Another very influential person is Fred Duggerberg in Chicago, who did something very similar. He had a group of Savateurs since the mid-80s. Other people very influential on the West Coast are Salem Asli and Francis Echinard in the late 80s. And Savate is now organized as a federation where we have several places where we can train, not only on the West Coast, but in Chicago and on the East Coast as well.